Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Walking Dead episode 11 video. So we found out all about where Aaron's from, got to see a couple pictures and a tease for where the show is going to be heading in the next couple of episodes. There was also a couple really awesome comic book moments that I'll explain as we go along. I was kind of surprised they aired this episode even though the Oscars were going on tonight, but they do always air it against really big football games, and Walking Dead consistently beats football, so I think it has a pretty good shot against the Oscars too. Okay, so starting with top 5 moments, careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. Here we go. Number 5, Rick interrogates Aaron. Right off the bat, Rick isn't going to trust anyone, no matter what they say. Aaron was doomed from the start. It was really Michonne that turned them all around. You know, if Michonne tells you to chill, you have serious issues. The opening credit slam was so much fun too. Aaron's just going on and on and on about the quote-unquote community. Rick, bam, punches him right in the face. I don't trust anyone who smiles after getting punched in the face. In Rick's defense, Aaron did have a pretty creepy vibe coming off him at first. On to number 4, Aaron's backstory explained. Aaron explains that he used to work for an NGO just giving medicine to really impoverished areas in third world countries. So he's dealt with warlords, pirates, so this is just another Sunday for him. No big deal. Probably the best part in their back and forth was when he was trying to explain how his mother mistreated him by forcing him to eat applesauce. He buried the lead a little bit when he said his mom was well-meaning but confused. He doesn't go into super great detail, but it sounds like his mom did crazy stuff to try and get him to stop being gay. Given the list of bad Walking Dead parents that we've heard about so far, I still think that Daryl's takes the cake. Daryl and Merle's dad still sounds like the worst parent ever. You guys can let me know what you think. Who do you think the worst parent that we've heard about on Walking Dead so far is? Is it one of the survivors' parents, or is it like a character we've actually seen on the show? Moving on to number 3, the group takes an alternate route to get to the safe zone. Even if you haven't read the comics, just the general vibe coming off of Michonne and Rick made it seem like this episode was going to be an example of the negative effects of not trusting people. Rick reminded her of Woodbury and Terminus, both places that seemed nice at first, but then turned out to be really terrible, so he's not ready to chill out just yet. But turns out, Route 23, not such a great idea. Which is actually our first big comic book moment. I mean, Aaron's a big comic book moment, him coming into the story, but he came in at the end of last week's episode. It was a little different in the comics. So what happened is they took a car that looked just like that, or kind of like that, down this giant hill, and they had to plow through this army of walkers. Abraham was shooting walkers from the back, but it's the same basic idea. It's them plowing through a bunch of walkers. Just to explain why Aaron flipped out when he saw the road flare. The road flare is meant to signify that the worst possible scenario has happened. It's meant to be a measure of last resort, so when Aaron saw that, he knew that something really awful had happened to Eric. Moving on to number 2, Rick's group fights through the woods in the middle of the night. This is like a classic horror film, especially with the moonlight just glowing above them. My favorite effects scene, hands down, from the last couple of episodes is Rick shooting that flare into the walker's head. It's like a walker jack-o'-lantern. Anytime they lock the camera off like that and they focus on a particular scene for longer than a couple seconds, you know something really big is going to happen. So whenever the camera just stayed on that walker head while it started glowing, I was like, oh, okay, this is clearly meant to be a big effect sequence. It's a good example of the really awesome stuff they can do with a really small amount of money. I mean, it's really expensive to shoot an episode of The Walking Dead, but effects like this, they can do on the cheap. And they wanted us to think that Glenn was going to back up into that walker. But when they focus on a scene that much, you start to expect a twist. Like, it's like, okay, they want us to think he's going to get bit. There's going to be a twist. The twist is most likely that he will get away. Usually when someone dies, like Tyrese, for instance, getting bitten, it's something you don't expect, something you don't see coming. That's why I was more worried about Abraham getting bit whenever Rosita helped him earlier in the episode, whenever they shared that moment. And my number 1 moment, of course, the group reaches the Alexandria safe zone. Just to explain that other new person we met, Eric, he's also straight out of the comics. He and Aaron go out and find new people to bring back to the safe zone. I know a lot of people are saying that they're the first gay couple on the show. Technically, that's not true, because Tara had something of a girlfriend whenever they first met the governor's group. It was just an unconsummated relationship. So technically, Tara's the first LGBT character. It's just that she hasn't had any sexual moments on camera. Based on all the really positive music cues, it seems like a really good thing that they're heading to the safe zone. It's like the last minute of the episode, everyone's just holding their breath, waiting to see what's on the other side of that gate. We got a good shot of the Washington Monument. It's the first big evidence of civilization since Atlanta. It's like, oh, there's a big city of people out there. But just to put things into perspective, so the safe zone appeared for the first time in issue 69. Negan, for example, big villain in the comics, didn't appear till issue 100. So think about it this way. If it's season 5 and we've only gotten to issue 69, think about how much story there is before we get to Negan. I know everyone's always asking when they're going to bring him on the show. There's so many other new characters that we haven't met yet between issue 69 and issue 100, that we'll probably see that stuff first. Let me know what was your favorite moment from the episode, and based on what you've seen so far, what do you think about the Alexandria safe zone, and the fact that Rick is hiding a gun in a blender? In the teaser for the next episode, it's them just slowly pushing in. You don't see any other people, it's just them just investigating houses. So I think it's going to be like another week or two before we start to meet a bunch of other people. If you have read the comics, you know who we're going to meet next, so please use spoiler tags if you want to talk about them. Because we haven't officially gone inside yet, I'm just going to wait till next week's video before I talk about the Alexandria safe zone in general. Just remember that there is a whole bunch of story in the comics before shit hits the fan and Negan and the Saviors show up. I think it'll be a nice change of pace for the show, and it'll give them the opportunity to cycle in a bunch of new characters. So I think it's going to be the answer to a lot of people's complaints about the show getting boring. That's just been the most common complaint I've seen in the comments, is people just feel like it's the same thing over and over and over. So now is totally a great time to jump back on The Walking Dead. Whole new area, whole new group of people. Don't forget too, new round of the giveaway starts now. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. I'll announce the winner in my Q&A video tomorrow. I didn't have any really big thumbs down on the episode. I'll say, generally things are picking up. The pace is picking back up. I know a lot of people were kind of upset because not a lot happened in episode 10, but I feel like now shit's gonna start happening, so there will be more action. But we have a bunch of people that we have to meet. In related news, I'm not planning on doing any Oscar videos, but tomorrow I'll be doing my Walking Dead Q&A, and there's a new episode of Gotham. What I'm really interested to see is how much they're going to deviate from the comics. It seems like they're sticking pretty close right now, but I don't think they're going to be exactly like what happened after issues 69, 70, 71, etc. So while you guys wait for the Walking Dead Q&A, you can click here for last week's episode, and you can click here for my latest Game of Thrones Season 5 video. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.